Today we'll be discussing the concept of Airbnb rental arbitrage, where one rents out a rented home or apartment on a short-term basis on Airbnb. But is that allowed? And if so, how does one do it? We'll discuss these and all other important questions in this video. What is Airbnb rental arbitrage? The practice of renting homes and subletting them on the Airbnb platform is known as Airbnb arbitrage. This method allows you to generate income in the short-term rental world without actually owning a home. For example, consider renting a 2-bedroom apartment for $1,000 per month. For this business model, one can list the unit for rent on Airbnb, making, say, $200 per night. And even if you only rent out your apartment for 1 week per month, you've paid your rent without actually touching any of your own money. Now that seems pretty magical, doesn't it? Though the concept is just hitting the mainstream media in many places, rental arbitrage is commonly practiced already in many markets. This doesn't mean it's right, though. So let's begin this video by discussing the legal considerations for Airbnb rental arbitrage. Is Airbnb rental arbitrage legal? In a word, yes. Airbnb arbitrage is entirely legal as long as you follow the local laws and regulations that would apply anyway in your area. This includes securing the proper license for short-term rentals if required, and paying all applicable taxes. Will I lose my lease? If your lease prohibits you explicitly from renting out your apartment on Airbnb or a similar service, then your landlord would have the grounds to terminate your lease. If it's not prohibited, or you simply don't have a written agreement with your landlord on the subject, then there likely won't be any retribution for listing your space on Airbnb. It is worth noting, however, that a landlord likely won't be too excited to hear that you are subletting your apartment on a short-term rental site. They may have never heard of the concept and didn't know to put it in the lease that you signed. So do prepare yourself for some tense conversations, even if you don't get kicked out of your apartment. So how to convince your landlord to agree to an Airbnb rental arbitrage situation? If you read over your lease and you know for sure there's nothing in there about listing your unit on Airbnb, and you still want to do it, it's wise to get your landlord's approval before starting your business anyway. From the perspective of a real estate professional who has been there and seen many things in the business, here are some tips that could turn the conversation in your favor. First, keep your unit pristine. Promise to your landlord that you'll keep your apartment clean and in magazine-worthy condition. For a landlord, a well-kept unit will save them the hassle of cost and repairs and renovations when you eventually move from the property. It will help them know that you won't be turning your unit into a slumlord subletting situation. Next, it will help you continue to pay on time. Because you intend to run your Airbnb as a lucrative business, you can ensure your landlord knows of your intentions to use the profits to continue to pay him or her on time. Lean on the fact that you've been a great tenant and you always have paid on time to begin with, and that this extra income will simply ensure that that continues. Not all tenants are good ones, and sometimes reminding the owner of your rental that you are responsible and you do pay as needed, it may certainly help your cause. Assure your landlord knows that you intend to take full responsibility should something go wrong in your unit. Offer to amend your lease to include a rental arbitrage contract, and that would consist of things like who would take the fall and cover any penalties or fines as a result of something caused by one of your guests. If additional liability insurance is needed, who would pay for it? How much, if any, profit would you be sharing with your landlord? If you should give advance notice to your landlord about any guests and how you would communicate to them about it. And should you pay any additional security deposits? If I'm honest, I probably would still tell you no. Just because if I went through the trouble to vet you and did a background check and I ran your credit and interviewed you to ensure you would be a positive addition to one of my properties, I wouldn't like that you would be potentially renting it out to someone that I don't know or trust. But if you have a progressive landlord who's willing to be open-minded, then you should go for it and you should definitely take advantage. So let's recap so far. Rental arbitrage is a legal way to sublease a rented apartment on the Airbnb platform. So long as it's not explicitly written into your lease, you likely can have guests of this nature in your unit, though it's always advisable to get a building owner's permission first. To help with that conversation, lean on the fact that you will continue to have a clean unit, you will keep paying on time, and offer to add additional terms to your lease to include factors that reflect the rental arbitrage business.
As a real estate investor, it used to take me 3 months of research to find a property worth investing in. Then I found Mashvisor, a platform that helps investors make confident decisions within minutes. Start your free trial at mashvisor.com.
How to lease out your apartment. If you're interested in renting out your apartment or spare room on Airbnb, it's a simple process and I've broken it down into just a few steps for you. Number 1, sign up for an Airbnb account. First and foremost, you need to sign up for an Airbnb account. Just visit airbnb.com and select Become a Host to create your account online, or you can download the company's mobile app from iTunes or the Google Play Store just by searching Airbnb. And you can sign up with a phone number or email address of your choice. Number 2, select Try Hosting. Once you have an account with Airbnb, select Try Hosting at the very top of the Airbnb homepage. It will take you to some video materials explaining the process of becoming a host, and then we'll ask you a series of questions about the property you want to list for rent. And that includes what type of space you have, how much of that space you're willing to list, meaning if it's a single bedroom or you're going to list the whole thing, how many guests your space can hold, and more. Number 3, publish and manage your listing. Now this is just an overview of the steps, but by following the trajectory of step 2, you will eventually list your property fully for rent on the site. And once you do, it's very easy to manage your listing. You can adjust your nightly rate, edit your well-crafted descriptions, and respond to inquiries quickly and easily with interested guests. Guests can also book directly on that same platform. And last, you have to prepare your unit for welcoming your guests. And this is where I leave you. Airbnb requires hosts to follow regulations when welcoming travelers into their homes. They have standards for things like how many pillows you should have and, again, standards of cleanliness. While it may seem daunting, it's also helpful and very transparent and is just there to ensure all parties have positive experiences. Here are 3 tips for listing your apartment on Airbnb. First, be critical. Just because you have an apartment doesn't mean someone will want to stay there with you. Ask yourself, is it in a nice area of town? Is the parking lot well lit and accessible? Is your unit even welcoming and decorated? Be critical and ask your friends for their opinions before listing on the site. Next, check with your neighbors. Make sure you've checked with your neighbors to make sure that they're pro Airbnb hosting in the first place. Of course, this is a nice thing to do because they're your neighbors, but also if you're in a building with close proximity to your neighbors, they will likely have some kind of interaction with your guests. Even if it's just by passing them in the hall, they will be a reflection of you. And if they are unkind or not friendly to your guests, you will probably hear about it in your Airbnb customer experience review. So I would just give them a heads up and gain their feedback. And number 3, decide if it's worth it for you or not. When listing your home, you will be able to see what is a realistic amount that you may receive. If you have a tiny apartment in a very well-populated area, it might not be worth it to you monetarily to rent out your unit in this way. You may or may not make enough to go through all the hassles of leasing out your space. So just go into the experience with an open mind and explore your options. So let's recap. In part 2, we went over how to use the Airbnb site to list your apartment. One should be critical of their space before listing it on the site. Is it a place someone would want to stay? We determined you should talk with your building neighbors before beginning the process, as their participation is, unfortunately, very much required. Last, we discussed how you should let the money guide you on whether listing your apartment on the short-term rental site is worth your time. Thanks for watching. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. We post videos on real estate and real estate investing every Monday and Thursday. Also, to learn more about MashVisor and how we help beginning investors make smart investment decisions, check out the site by clicking on the links in the description.